Today we are going to be talking about, for now and for this podcast, is not always going to be for this type of stuff. And I also want to let you know this podcast is going to be based primarily overall positive. Okay. So, but in light of recent events with Charlie Kirk and everything that's happening with the DEI comments about him and what he said, I wanted to show the full context again with a video about Charlie Kirk talking to this gentleman about the DEI situations and everything it has to be involved and what it's about. With no further ado, let's go ahead and watch this video.
So last year you said something about DEI, unqualified black pilots. You see a pilot on a black pilot. Don't you think it was an irresponsible statement suggesting that maybe these pilots aren't qualified or unqualified?
No. But I'll tell you exactly what I said and why I said it.
Okay, go ahead.
I said, the pretext, I went through a whole windup. I said United Airlines is saying that they want 40% of all their pilots to be people of color or women. We have learned that we have relaxed standards anytime that we try to reach racial quotas. Anytime we reach racial quotas, we relax the standards. Standards for air traffic control, professors, or college admissions. Therefore, when it comes to pilots or surgeons, if I see somebody who is black, as I said on the show, I'm going to hope that that person is qualified. That's what I said, which of course is
basically meaning I hope they didn't let down the standards just to get this person in there. They didn't do it only for this. They also did it for, people that are handicapped and stuff like this, even for air traffic control and stuff like that. There's that. Let's go ahead and keep watching.
legitimate because they're begging the question, we're not hiring based on merit anymore. We're hiring based on race.
Now,
So when you see a black pilot, you wonder, boy, is that person there because they earned it or because they were placed there? That's what DEI does. It makes you ask questions you otherwise would not ask.
so the airline industry is going to take an unqualified person just based off diversity.
Underqualified, not underqualified.
Unqualified, underqualified, whatever, uncertified, and put them in a cockpit and risk people's lives?
Those are two different things. Under and un are two different things. Of course, United Airlines will not take someone off the side of the street and put them into a pilot. But in order to reach a 40% goal, they might cut corners. They might accelerate the process.
Which you do not want in aviation. I myself am a student pilot that is on hold right now for training. But as an example, if you look at Boeing, which I am a big sayer that they are totally in the wrong. Boeing is in the wrong because they cut corners so that they could save some money. And that has resulted in many, many accidents. That is absolutely horrible. And this is something I use for my interview for university I went to for aviation. Just to say, you don't want to cut corners anywhere, but definitely in aviation, you do not want to cut corners whatsoever. It is extremely hard to get into. I know, I'm trying to get into it. That's a whole nother story. But you want everything to be up in the up 100, 1000%. So with no further ado, let's keep watching.
In order to reach a goal. We know this through all sorts of DEI examinations and projects over the last 10 years. You have to choose in life. Either excellence or racial quotas will end up being the most important. And both cannot simultaneously exist. It's never happened before.
Okay, so when we talk about DEI, well, who benefits the most? Because black people really don't. It's only like maybe 3 to 4% of black people actually benefit from those programs. So who benefits the most?
I'm not sure your question. I mean, theoretically, if 40% of all pilots end up being black people or people of color.
But that's not. I actually looked it up. It's only like maybe about 6% of pilots
their
are black.
goal is 40%, right? That's the point. It's like that's actually a great point. So they wanted to go from 6% to 40%. And so you have to wonder, boy, you go from 6% to 40%, there's going to be a relaxing of standards.
Okay, I guess the way let me see if I can rephrase this. So essentially when you talk about DEI, affirmative action, or anything to that effect.
I'm against all of it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and that would be fine. The thing is that now it's actually, referenced as a slur against, essentially if you see a black person in a position or, minority or whatever, the assumption is that person is not qualified when literally, and, you have to be qualified in order to even to get in that position.
Well, so let's take college admissions. So this is a great example. At Harvard, we learned because of new revealed documents that black students were having test scores that were 30 to 35% lower than their white counterparts.
Okay.
And so, therefore, if you saw a black kid at Harvard, It's a fact that they were not having the same test standards as their white counterparts.
Still doesn't matter. The kid has to get through. He's got to get through the classes, do the tests, do all the research.
Well, and they actually
pass
drop
everything.
out at a greater rate too. But the point being is, just the idea that they were there, number one, took a spot from an otherwise qualified individual that might be white. And they were not there on the same merits. So what we want is the same rules for everybody.
You're making the assumption that they're not qualified in order to get in. In order to even get there,
It's not
be
the
considered.
assumption. It's the data. So, for example, it's literally at Harvard, you had kids with perfect SAT scores, perfect ACT scores that were white.
So that makes a degree from Harvard worthless then.
Well, you're exactly right. Yeah, actually, Harvard's degree is becoming more worthless because it's more race-based than merit-based. You're exactly right.
Okay, now we talked enough about that. Okay, so in the past you made statements about black privilege. So can you explain that to me and what it is? And
Yeah,
and
of
how
course.
black
I mean,
people
it's
are getting
easier for a black person to get into college than a white person. You get with lower test scores. It's called affirmative action.
Okay, so that's been so college admission has been affirmative action for college admission has been struck down.
Thank you. Yeah.
So-
I'll give you another example. What percentage of TV commercials have black people versus white people?
I'm not sure about that, but
About
white
40
people are also in commercials. so I
About
don't-
40. Well, this is important. About 40 to 50% of all network TV commercials have a person of color right now. What percentage of America is a person of color?
At least for black people, I know we're about 13%.
Yeah, it's about so 13% of the population, nearly half of all the TV commercials.
White people are still in the commercials.
Yes, but underrepresented as proportional, though. The point being, I can give you another example. Easier to get corporate jobs. There are entire departments that are dedicated to just try and
Yeah, it's all targeted, right? Which we kind of knew. Kind of knew that.
expand racial quotas.
You know what would really have fixed this from the beginning had you not had all the. So why do we have DEI in the first place? Because this is the problem that creates. So why was DEI necessary in the first place? Or at least the government thought it was necessary in the first place.
Why do I think that it was?
No, why would the government?
Do you want my well-intentioned explanation or the?
Whatever you got.
I mean, DEI was obviously about trying to destroy the excellence of the country and elevate racial tribal politics.
Okay, so if you don't have the racism, right, and then you'll need that program. So you eradicate the racism, and that eliminates the need for any kind of program.
No, but if you have excellence, you're going to find the
that
best.
tries to take people and put them in place because they're minorities.
You want the best in everything. So let me just ask a final question, okay? If you were about to board a United Airlines flight from Tallahassee to Atlanta, and you find out the airline pilot says, "Hey, everybody, I'm a pilot. I was hired because of diversity. Let's have a great flight." Would that make you feel good or not so good?
That's the root, isn't it? Like, it doesn't matter even like for racism, right? It matters for who got that position for what reason. Did they get that position because to meet your quota, or did they get that position because they were the best out of the class? Right? This is kind of what we're looking at. So let's see the answers.
No, but I know he's still got to be qualified in order to fly that aircraft.
But he said, "I was hired because of diversity," and you're like,
You still got to meet the standards in order to get into the cockpit.
well, again, we know because air traffic controllers and many others, they relax those standards. When you have a surgeon,
You're saying that, but look, you're not. It does not make sense. It's irresponsible. Not only to say that, but to actually put unqualified people in and risk lives.
But we know that's actually happening every day, and that's why it doesn't make sense. But racial quotas end up mattering more than excellence. When I go in for surgery, I want my surgeon to be the best surgeon, and here's where we can
I would
agree.
agree with that,
We
yes.
want a merit-based society, not a race-based society.
I say we should have started that way from the beginning. But at any rate, then the last thing. I don't want to hog the mic, but I'll just say
That's
this
fine.
last thing. So you talked about.
I will say I like this guy a lot, man. He's so freaking cool. He stays so calm. He's debating in a calm, logical, rational way. Love this guy, man. He's doing a fantastic job actually debating Kirk here, which a lot of times you don't see that in these videos. So hats off to this guy.
Black fathers, absentee, and all this other stuff and everything else. I actually agree. Okay, more fathers in the home and everything else. That's wonderful stuff. The thing is that you also said, and I'm looking at some of your stuff previous, that there's a system in place that actually incentivizes women to make babies without husbands.
It's a
right?
great society.
Take that away,
I
and
agree.
then that problem essentially goes away.
I agree.
Now, I would ask this question also: what % of black men do you think are abandoning their homes right now?
Well,
as it relates?
we know that it's actually 60 to 70%.
Okay, then you'd actually be wrong because the CDC actually submitted a report in 2023 that says 54% of black men don't even have children.
But that's
54%.
Those are those are two different numbers, man. I'm talking about those that impregnate.
Okay. Well, most black men. Well, most black men are actually producing children within the construct of
I'm
marriage,
talking
right?
about just the kids. Because
So you're saying black men are getting married and then leaving their
not
families?
getting married. That's the problem. What I'm saying is the data. I'm
Sir,
saying 2 out of 3 black men impregnate women and don't stay with them.
Sir, I'm telling you that 54% of black men, according to the CDC study 2023 National Health Statistics Reports, literally says that 54% don't even have children.
I know that's a complete different stat. Everyone knows what I'm saying and not what you're saying. That's a complete different. That's like a.
So
what I'm saying is that if you have a black child, which obviously exists for some reason, right? Somebody did something to make that black baby.
Okay.
2 out of 3 times, the dad will not be around. Fact. Done.
All right.
Only out of who actually has kids.
Yeah, it's only out of. Thank you. The statistics are actually out of only those who have kids.
So you got black men who are married also. They're not abandoning their children and families at high rates.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the vast majority of black babies are born out of wedlock with abandoned fathers.
Okay, so let's do this. Now, if that's bad for a black
It's
babies,
bad for all. It's bad for everybody.
So then shouldn't that be your main line then?
It is actually. Everywhere I go, I talk about
when
dads.
you do it, you kind of focus on black men as if somehow we're the only ones that, that's part of that problem.
Well, no, it is a
They're
black
not.
man abandonment issue, of course. I mean, would you agree that's probably the biggest issue facing black America is lack of dads?
It's
Not
one of the
only.
issues.
Okay, what is the biggest issue?
I don't know. I haven't kind of thought
That's
about
fine.
that.
I want you to think about it over the next couple of days. We as conservatives believe
because we got a lot of problems. But I'll
the breakdown of family, we believe, is the original sin of what's happening. We think that truth transcends color. It's true for white people, black people, Asians, Hispanics.
This guy's so cool, man. Charlie Kirk's amazing. I'm talking about the other guy too, though. Super cool guy. I love it.
Final thought.
Okay, fine. Good question. I mean, good conversation. That's just my thing is when I hear you talk about it, it seems like you're framing it improperly, and then people are here saying that I'm doing it improperly. But I'm a black man in America. I know something about
I'm just offering you grace. I'm not saying that your number is wrong. I'm just saying that it's a statistic that wasn't necessarily relevant to what I was saying.
Everyone's talking about how Charlie Kirk is like racist. Clearly, this clip, and this is on the DEI stuff, but this clip and so many other, not clip, but videos, if you watch the entire video, you can see where he talks from, where he comes from. Everyone says that Charlie Kirk is like a religious extremist and stuff like this. It's simply not the case, man. Yes, he's a religious guy, but he was a good guy and he tried to talk logic throughout all of his debates. And one thing I love about this particular debate is this guy right here, man, he was so super cool. Wish I knew his name so I could give him like a shout out in the comments and stuff. This dude right here, awesome. Super cool guy right here. I love watching how he's debating Charlie, actually keeping a level head and everything. He's making good points too. That's the great thing about debate. We can debate. Even if we don't agree on everything, we can debate each other and still get along. That's the great thing about it. It doesn't have to be, oh, I disagree with you, so we have a Charlie Kirk event, which is so sad. So sad. I think I speak for a lot of people. Even if you don't say it, even if you want to fit into with your friends and with the mainstream, in your heart, what do you think? Think it was a good thing? Come on.